All right, so today we're going to talk about ASEAN or Association of Southeast Asian Nation. So in other universities, they have a subject na dedicated lang for ASEAN. But here in our university, we do not have a specific or a different subject na ASEAN lang yung pag-uusapan. In your next semester, you will only have Philippine tourism and global tourism. So as early as now, I want to give emphasis of what ASEAN is all about. So we're going to talk about ASEAN and the MRATP. Ano-ano nga ba yung mga terms na yon and ano ba yung importance, ano yung significance ng mga organization or ng organization na ASEAN para sa atin. All right, so ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nation. If you're going to check your world map, makikita nyo doon na si Philippines are nandoon sa southeastern, so kanluran, and then eastern part of Asia. All right, so together with Philippines are 9 other countries. So in total, we have 10 countries or 10 member states kung tawagin in the Association of Southeast Asian Nation. Nagsama-sama yung 10 bansa na ito for political security purposes, for economic benefit purposes, and for social-cultural benefits. Okay? So, kung nakita nyo, there are three purposes and there are also three pillars na binubuo ang ASEAN. So, here, as you can see, we could identify the different countries that belongs to the ASEAN. So, the 10 ASEAN member states or kung tawagan ay AMS. So, we have Myanmar, Vietnam, Philippines, Brunei, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia, and Laos. Maraming nako-confuse na student na lagi nilang naiisip na si Japan ay part ni Southeast Asia, na si Korea ay part ni Southeast Asia, or si South Korea ay part ni Southeast Asia. No, guys. Okay? Those your favorite countries, 'di ba? Kasi may mga K-pop tayo, may mga into anime and Japanese drama tayo ng mga students or ng mga kabataan. Um, I know you guys are still innocent, but guys, since you are in the tourism program, please be informed. You should know this one that those countries are not part of Southeast Asia. They are part of East Asia. Ang part po ng Southeast Asia ay itong 10 country na pinapakita ko sa inyo ngayon. Okay? And hopefully, as early as now, tinitingnan nyo na yung ating mga roadmap dahil in the future, you might need to um, identify the countries in a blank roadmap. Okay? So, dapat si Southeast Asia, alam nyo na agad. Okay. Why is it important for us to know na part tayo ni ASEAN? Because we could get a lot of benefits from this one. And also as a region, okay, we are also trying to aim na maging isang community tayo sa ASEAN or isang community here in Southeast Asia. All right, so and here we're going to talk about a brief history of ASEAN. So ASEAN was founded on August 8, 1967. So this date is also very important, guys, kasi every year si August 8 sineselebrate natin yung ASEAN Day. All right? So please remember that one. Also, binuo siya with the 5 founding fathers. So nung una, meron lang 5 countries na bumuo sa ASEAN. Alright? So, yung 5 countries na yon, may 5 ministers sila, and those are from Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. If you check the picture that you have on your screen right now, you would see the 5 founding fathers of ASEAN. We have Narciso Ramos from the Philippines, Adam Malik from Indonesia, Tanat Kuman from um, Thailand, Tun Abdul Razak from Malaysia, and Rajaratnam. I'm not, I still cannot pronounce his first name, but usually in his speeches, I've read some of his speeches, laging S. Rajaratnam lang yung nilalagay because even for me, I'm having a hard time uh, pronouncing pronouncing his name. But anyway, yung date na ito, si August 8, 1967, aside from calling it the ASEAN Day or the founding day of ASEAN, it is also called the Bangkok Declaration because they did the signing of these agreement in Bangkok, Thailand. So this is Bangkok Declaration. And nung una, ang purpose lang talaga nila is for economic benefits and also to for these countries to come together, to be stronger together, so that we could protect each other from being colonized again. Okay? Kasi nagsisimula pa lang tayong maging independent this time eh. Okay? After long years of colonization from the Westerners, we're already trying to stand up by ourselves. Tapos, um, etong mga ministers nito, nag-usap-usap sila, what can we do so that we could protect ourselves? That's why yung 3 pillars, social, social-cultural, economic benefits, and political security. So, political security is one of the main reasons nila bakit binuo si ASEAN. So, here, in this timeline, makikita natin, so 1967, the 5 founding fathers, and then sunod na naging member ng ASEAN would be Brunei Darussalam in 1984, and then nasundan ni Vietnam in 1995, um, and then Laos and Myanmar in 1997, and lastly would be Cambodia, ang huling naging member ng ASEAN, because nahuli si Cambodia because there were still some disputes within the country. That's why medyo nahuli sila. But anyway, those are the 10 countries of ASEAN. So ano-ano nga ba yung aims and purposes? So, as set out in the ASEAN Declaration or the Bangkok Declaration, the aims and purposes of ASEAN are to accelerate the economic growth, social progress, and cultural development, to promote regional peace and stability, so ito si political security, to promote active collaboration and mutual assistance on matters of common interest, alright? And then to provide assistance to each other in the form of training and research facilities, to collaborate more effectively for greater utilization of their agriculture and industries, to promote Southeast Asian studies, to maintain close and beneficial cooperation with existing international and regional organizations. ASEAN is connected in a lot of with a lot of international and regional organizations as well. So here are the fundamental principles of ASEAN. So they have mutual respect for the independence, sovereignty. Okay? Kailangan nire-respeto ng bawat bansa, ng bawat miyembro ng ASEAN yung sovereignty or yung um, uh, their freedom. Okay? Yung freedom ng ibang bansa to conduct their governance. So sa Philippines hindi pwedeng makialam kay Indonesia, si Indonesia hindi pwedeng makialam kay Philippines. Okay? That's why ito rin yung number 3, non-interference in the internal affairs of one another. You cannot interfere, Philippines cannot interfere with the other with what's happening in Indonesia. Indonesia cannot interfere with what's happening in Singapore. Singapore cannot interfere with what's happening in Brunei because of this agreement with ASEAN. And it is also one of the most controversial kasi Have you heard of what's happening in Myanmar right now? So Myanmar is also part of Southeast Asia. And why is it that the big question here is why is it ASEAN? Why is ASEAN not doing anything? And it is because of the non-interference principle. Okay? Kaya hindi siya basta-bastang pwedeng um, um, i-reprimand ng ASEAN. Hindi siya basta-basta pwedeng i-reprimand ng ibang countries. It is because of the non-interference principle. Right? So, next, it should, number 4, settlement of differences or disputes by peaceful manner. Okay? That's why in the past, we've had disputes with Malaysia with regards to Sabah. Pero we were able to settle our differences through dialogue, through peaceful manner. Walang war dapat. Because it's part of the agreement with being a member of ASEAN. Next, renunciation of the threat or use of force. We cannot use force against another country, and effective cooperation among themselves. So these are the fundamental principles of ASEAN na kailangan na sundin ng bawat miyembro or ng bawat bansa na kabilang sa ASEAN. Alright, so now let's proceed with ASEAN Community. Ano ba yung goal ni ASEAN? It is for all of these 10 countries to identify themselves as one community. Kaya nga, mamaya, we will talk about the vision of ASEAN. Ang vision ni ASEAN is one vision, one identity, one community. If you go in Europe, meron di ba silang European Union? May regional group silang ganon, regional association. So, si European Union, ang kabilang doon ay mga Europeans, and they identify themselves as Europeans. But why is it here in ASEAN, we do not identify ourselves as ASEAN people? Okay? Because wala pa tayong ganong identity. Okay? Hindi pa nag-ignite doon sa mga heart natin. And bakit hindi natin ma-identify yung sarili natin as part of the community or part of the ASEAN community? It is because a lot of people are still not aware that the ASEAN organization exists. But it's been here na since 1967. Okay? May mga protocols, may mga agreements na tayo. Marami nang naitulong si ASEAN sa mga bansa within Southeast Asia. But why is it still not a lot of Southeast Asian, why do they still not identify themselves as ASEAN people? Okay? So, yun yung pinakamalaking challenge for ASEAN. How can we ignite the community heart within the ASEAN people? Okay? Kasi gusto nila magkaroon ng people-centered, people-oriented community. Pero a lot of the people in ASEAN still don't know what ASEAN is. So, that's the challenge. Alright? So, here are the 3 pillars na binubuo para magkaroon daw tayo ng one ASEAN community. Okay? So, we have to look into the ASEAN Political Security Community or the APSC, then the AEC or the ASEAN Economic Community, and then the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community. If you look into the aims and purposes kanina ni ASEAN, di ba, we talked about political security and stability, we talked about economic growth, we talked about social progress and improving the culture. And there you go. Those are the 3 pillars na bumubuo sa ASEAN community. Under these 3 pillars, meron yung mga blueprint. Okay? So, may mga sinusunod sila na blueprint. Paano ba tayo magkakaroon ng ASEAN Political Security Community? Paano ba magkakaroon ng isang region na merong political stability at merong security? Ano-ano ba yung mga standards or protocols na pwede nating ilagay doon sa blueprint na kailangan sundin ng ating mga member states? Okay? So, yun po yung purpose um, ng tatlong pillars na ito. And yun yung purpose ng mga blueprints under this three pillars. And if we are able to conduct or achieve the aims and purposes or the vision of each pillars, then we would be able to have an ASEAN community. So the ASEAN Community 2015 is a community anchored on three community pillars: political security community, economic community, and social-cultural community. So dahil natapos na si 2015, may bagong blueprint or blueprint naman sila, which is for 2025. So this is the Asean Charter. So kung tayo ay may Constitution of the Philippines, si ASEAN as an organization also have the Asean Charter. So Asean Charter serves as a firm foundation in achieving the ASEAN community by providing legal status and institutional framework for ASEAN. So it also codifies ASEAN norms, rules and values, sets clear targets for ASEAN, and presents accountability and compliance. So, lahat ng mga rules, lahat ng mga norms, lahat ng everything that identifies ASEAN is all in the ASEAN Charter. So, we're going to talk about the ASEAN identity and symbols. Paano mo ba malalaman na this is for ASEAN? So, in Chapter 11 of the ASEAN Charter, meron dong part na for identity and symbols of ASEAN. So, we're going to talk about some of those articles. So, first, let's talk about ASEAN identity. So, ASEAN shall promote its common ASEAN identity and sense of belonging among its people in order to achieve its shared destiny, goals, and values. In a narrative adopted during the 37th ASEAN Summit on 12 November 2020, ASEAN identity is defined as a process of social construct defined by balanced combination of constructed values and inherited values that will strengthen the ASEAN community. So, constructed values, ito yung mga values na na-adapt natin. Inherited values, ito yung mga values na namana natin. Okay? So, constructed values are defined as values that a group of people or nations who associate themselves with as a product of active and deliberate intentions in order to develop an allegiance with certain mindsets to achieve a specific objective of a community. So if ASEAN has a specific objective, has a specific identity, and in-inject sa atin yun ni ASEAN, those are constructed values. Okay? Okay? Deliberate intention. Okay? Um, they have a purpose, they have an intention. Okay? So ASEAN has undergone through many transformations and achieved numerous milestones through three stages of constructed values. The first stage of the constructed values is the shared political values that encompass most of the five founding countries of ASEAN stood for. After ASEAN has sustained its political objectives, it understood the importance of increasing the economic welfare of the ASEAN people. So those um, are some of the constructed values. ASEAN progressed to the second stage of constructed values, which is the shared economic and trade benefits. So after natin mag-aim for political stability, next we aim for economic and trade benefits. So ito yung mga constructed values natin. Okay, we valued these certain ideas. Okay? After political security, we valued economic and trade benefits. After 36 years of practicing the above shared values, ASEAN committed to entering the third stage as reflected in Bali Concord 2 in 2003 to increase its allegiance by strengthening ASEAN based on the three pillars. When the ASEAN community was formally established in 2015, aspiring to become a people-centered and people-oriented community, it entered the third stage of constructed values, focusing on the social and cultural values. Okay? So those are the constructed values of ASEAN, which basically also surrounds with the three pillars, okay? Political security, economic benefits, and social-cultural benefits or values. So, another constructed value na kailangan nating tandaan or na-inject sa atin because of ASEAN is the ASEAN Way. Sabi ng mga experts in the field of international relations, the ASEAN Way daw is our form of diplomacy. If you are going in, let's say, European Union. So, European Union, guys, kapag ka meron silang kailangang pagdesisyonan, okay? So, yung mga bansa, yung mga members ng European Union, they are going to vote and majority wins, okay? So, if they say, um, there's option A and then there's option B, tapos mas maraming votes si option A, then yun yung gagawin ni European Union. Voting policy. Pero si ASEAN, if let's say merong we have 10 countries in ASEAN, option A and option B. Si 9 countries, they went for option A. Pero may isang country that went for option B. That means they would not go for it. Okay? Because that is the ASEAN way. Kailangan consensus. Okay? Not majoritarian decision making. No. It, unlike EU, dapat may consensus. Kailangan may pagkakasundo-sundo sila when it comes to decision making. Lahat magkakasundo sa decision making. This is also another issue about the constructed values of ASEAN. Kaya daw medyo nagtatagal yung mga decision making because kailangan sang-ayon ang lahat sa isang desisyon. Alright? Next, we're talking about inherited values. So these are values that the people of Southeast Asian region ascribe to, which have been passed on for generations through the natural process of human interaction that develops into various types of communities with such similarities. So the values shared by ASEAN member states have existed in Southeast Asian countries long before the establishment of ASEAN. All characteristics, values, and shared values, as well as rich traditions in Southeast Asian is part of our vision and culture. So basically, all our inherited values, all the traditions, the culture, the customs that we got from our ancestors, okay? We inherited everything that we inherited from our ancestors. Those are our inherited values. And it also gives us our identity, okay? It contributes to our identity, to our cultural identity, to our identity as an ASEAN, as ASEAN people. Next, ano ba ang motto ni ASEAN? So, ASEAN motto, I think I already mentioned this one. One vision, one identity, one community. Okay? It really aims for us ASEAN people to have one mindset. Okay? So basically, we have to be as one, as ASEAN people. A lot of people would say, I only identify as a Filipino, I only identify as Asian, but they would not know that they are also Southeast Asian or they are ASEAN people. Okay, so that is why our motto is one vision, one identity, and one community. Next, all right, so this is the ASEAN flag. Okay, so every ASEAN summit, makikita po natin ang flag na ito nakatabi ng ibang mga flags ng member states ng ASEAN. So each of these colors, each of the shapes here have a meaning. So yung blue, it represents peace and stability. The red depicts courage and dynamism, and white shows purity, and yellow symbolizes prosperity. The circle represents the unity, and then the stalks of paddy inside the circle, it represents the ASEAN founding fathers. Okay. Next, the Asean Emblem. Okay, or um, emblem, it's sort of the logo. Okay, so the original Asean logo presented five brown sheaves of rice stalks, one for each founding member. So as you can see, this is the original one. Okay, these are set on a field of yellow and circled by a blue border. But then they changed it to the current one right now, which already consists or stands for all the 10 countries of Southeast Asia, or all the 10 countries of ASEAN. Next, let's talk about the ASEAN Day. So the ASEAN Day, I think I also mentioned this already a while ago. So 8th August is observed as ASEAN Day. So every year po yan, kinoconduct or ginaganap ang ASEAN Day. And since nagkaroon ng pandemic, ginaganap na ang ASEAN Day natin ng through online. If you are intrigued kung ano ang ASEAN Day or anong nangyayari sa ASEAN Day, you can check ang you can check on YouTube the program for this event. So the online celebration was broadcasted on ASEAN's website and social media platforms. Along with the official speeches, the online celebration featured congratulatory wishes from ASEAN citizens, ASEAN's external partners, and special musical performances. Next would be the Asean Anthem. So ASEAN also have its own song, its own anthem. And as you can see from here is the lyrics for this one. It was made by um, Thai citizens, Kun Kitikun Sopraset and Kun Sampo Triodom and Kun Payom Balay